Discussions emerged about DeFi blue chips like SushiSwap or Compound to become their own customized Cosmos blockchain. So, will SushiSwap or Compound enter the interchain? Well, now the question is what kickstarted this conversation and also how realistic is this? This is what we will discuss in today's episode. So make sure to watch this episode to the very end.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Before diving deeper into the conversation though, let us elaborate very briefly what Compound and SushiSwap actually are. Let us start with Compound. Compound is a DeFi project from the very, very early days. It is in fact one of the oldest or one of the first DeFi protocols ever, and people can lend and borrow cryptocurrencies on Compound. And Compound experienced a huge hype in summer 2020 where the whole DeFi sector kicked off and had a huge run up. Let us have a closer look at the markets on Compound. And as you can see, there's a lot of value locked on Compound. And of course, as you can see here, they support different Ethereum assets. And just a quick reminder, so Compound is a protocol on top of a layer 1, which is in this case Ethereum. So they are very, very tied to the Ethereum ecosystem. But they are very big on Ethereum because obviously Ethereum is still the largest ecosystem if we ignore Bitcoin for a second. But in terms of DeFi, Ethereum is definitely the largest ecosystem. And if we now go on DeFi polls, we can see that Compound is the 6th largest Ethereum protocol as of now with 2.85 billion in TVL, which is absolutely massive. So as of now, Compound is very tied to Ethereum. I believe they also launched on some other layer 2s here and there, but that's actually it. Now let's head over to SushiSwap. SushiSwap is, in contrast to Compound, an AMM, so people can swap different cryptocurrencies back and forth on SushiSwap, very similar to Osmosis and very similar to Uniswap, because SushiSwap is a fork of Uniswap. And this is very interesting actually, because SushiSwap was founded shortly after this huge DeFi mania in 2020, in summer 2020. So the DeFi summer ended approximately in September 2020 or so. And then in October 2020, something like this, SushiSwap was launched. But also very similar to Uniswap, also SushiSwap has a lot of liquidity, as we can see here, a total liquidity of $1.66 billion. And on Ethereum, SushiSwap has also lots of TVL with $449.9 million locked. Why is this so? This may be a little bit confusing here. So the interesting aspect of SushiSwap is that SushiSwap is present all over the multi-chain world. Compound is more tied to Ethereum. I believe they also launched on some layer 2s here and there, but SushiSwap is basically everywhere. They are on Harmony, on Avalanche, on Polygon, etc., etc. So the list goes on, and SushiSwap is present everywhere. Compound hesitated a little bit, if you can say it like this. They are not so present in the multi-chain world, but SushiSwap definitely is. Whenever you're on EVM, there's a very high chance that you can swap your tokens on SushiSwap as well. And this is actually also how this conversation got started. No one else than Sunny Aggarwal kickstarted this conversation, because again, SushiSwap is basically everywhere, and they flexed a little bit, so to say. They said SushiSwap runs on 15 plus chains and rollups, which is insane if you think about this. Access each through their unique link. So you have here Ethereum, Arbitrum, Avalanche, Polygon, Harmony, and so on and so forth. But now Sunny says that this is actually not a good way to go. He says where AppChain UX will win. AppChain UX, so he describes the Cosmos vision here, where every project is its own chain. The problem here is that SushiSwap relies on token bridges. So if I want to use SushiSwap on Harmony and I'm on Avalanche, for example, and I want to bridge my tokens to SushiSwap on another layer 1 where my funds are not as of now, I have to bridge them, and I have to rely on a bridge, which is not that smooth and also sometimes not that safe. So he says hey, it's much better to have an app chain because this is how you can access every ecosystem in the crypto industry without relying on token bridges too much. And besides, it's also very important to mention this here, because if you launch on hundreds of layer ones, you also are in danger of splitting to your liquidity too much, because of course also SushiSwap has, and we can look it up here, total liquidity of $1.66 billion. But of course, if you are on 20 different chains, you have to split this liquidity somehow. And of course, this is not so ideal also in terms of trading volume, because you may have a high trading volume in total, but it's spread everywhere. And this is why Sunny says, hey, it's a way better idea to have an app chain where you bring all of this together and everything is a little bit more concentrated, because this increases the user experience. And it's also much safer in that sense, because you can rely on IBC, because this is also a big selling pitch here, because if you enabled IBC, you have access to the rest of the interchain, so it won't be a problem for people. Like, let's assume that SushiSwap would enable IBC, then it would be super easy for you and me to bring your assets from SushiSwap over to Osmosis. And of course, also my bro CryptoCito said, hey SushiSwap, thoughts on launching your own app chain on Cosmos? We will see. We will see. And I think for SushiSwap, it would make a lot of sense to do this, but let us have a closer look at how Compound got into this discussion. This discussion kicked off yesterday, no, 2 days ago actually. And here Sunny stated, I truly think Compound Chain had the potential to be so huge. Unfortunately, they picked the wrong stack, substrate, and ended up spending 1 year banging their heads against the wall. Well, that's kind of salty here, but to get this into context. So again, Compound is on Ethereum and has some other Compound protocols here and there on other layer 2s as far as I know, but they also planned to launch their own chain, because as you can see here, they also talked about launching their own blockchain. So Compound wanted to launch its own blockchain. And as you can see as well, this article is kind of old. It was published in December 2020. And now it gets very interesting, because Robert Leshner, which is the founder of Cosmos, says, app chains, I think they will find far more success with Cosmos than Polkadot, which we made the mistake of using. Kudos to them. So he says, I still appreciate Polkadot, but Cosmos is the way to go. And here, also Eric Wall, he basically kickstarted this whole conversation because DYDX, if you remember, they also announced to become their own customized Cosmos blockchain. And also DYDX used to be, or is still, one of the largest protocols on Ethereum. Again, you can see it here. It's actually a bit larger than SushiSwap. It's the 13th largest DeFi protocol, and it now comes to the interchain by launching its own customized blockchain. So we see kind of a trend here, definitely. But now let us talk a little bit about timelines and also elaborate how realistic it would be for SushiSwap and for Compound to become their own Cosmos blockchains. Let us start with SushiSwap. I've seen many cosmonauts on Twitter these days, and they said it wouldn't make sense for SushiSwap to launch its own Cosmos chain, since they already decided to deploy SushiSwap on Kava. In case you don't know, Kava is a Cosmos SDK chain, but I think this has nothing to do with this discussion. Kava is just a Cosmos SDK chain, such as BSC for example, and launching on Kava is, I believe, just part of the strategy to go completely multi-chain. So I think the discussion is still on the table for SushiSwap to become its own Cosmos chain. Also, Kava is not so dominant in the interchain, so yeah, I think this doesn't have to say something. I strongly believe that it would make a lot of sense for SushiSwap to launch its own Cosmos chain, since they have such a high TVL and such a high trading volume. So let's see what will happen next. Maybe it comes out of nowhere, similar to what we have seen with DYDX. They just came into the interchain and then all of a sudden they announced to launch their own Cosmos blockchain. Now let us head over to Compound. I believe that Compound regrets their decision very, very severely when they when they decided to not launch a Cosmos SDK chain. Now they are elaborating new opportunities, and also the Compound founder mentioned that he is a big fan of Cosmos and that he thinks that Cosmos has a huge advantage compared to Polkadot. And this is also a general takeaway here for me. I believe that the Ethereum developers are way more excited and way more keen to join the interchain compared to launching something on Polkadot. Polkadot has not the best standing in the Ethereum developer ecosystem because Polkadot has this VC vibe, so to say. So we have a lot of VC money in Polkadot, and this is not the case with Cosmos. Also, Cosmos has way more flexibility and, in the eyes of Ethereum developers, a better toolset. So let's see what will happen next. I believe that Compound will launch an own Cosmos chain at some point, but I don't know when, and I do not have a really estimation for that. But what I believe is, I believe we will see at least 1 or 2 more Ethereum blue chips launching their own Cosmos chain by the end of 2022. Let's see which project it will be, but I'm very, very convinced of this theory. But now, guys, let me know what you think about these developments. Do you believe that Compound will join the interchain anytime soon, or SushiSwap? Again, comment in the comment section below. Also, do not forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel and give this video a like. This triggers the YouTube algorithm and leads to an action pump on the other hand. And with that being said, thank you for watching, and I see you tomorrow where I will host a live stream with Dankyo Air, Mars Protocol, and Kujira.
I mean, the Terra ecosystem was largely made up of Anchor, actually. I mean, I remember actually not many weeks before the collapse, I saw someone mention how flourishing it was, how there was so much stuff going on. And I went to the ecosystem page to click through the projects. And I mean, Anchor was the beast, right? It was holding, I don't know, 14 billion USD. And then the next protocol, I don't remember, Mars or Mirror, it was vastly smaller. Like there was, I mean, significant TVL in it for sure, but compared to Anchor, it was nothing. So like you could almost say that Terra was Anchor.